Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the InsideTheU live postgame show. The Miami Hurricanes beat Harvard 10-0, improved to 7-1 on the season to start out at home with 11 straight home games. Great start for Miami at 7-1. Very disappointing though in that loss to Harvard on Friday night, 11-6. Bounce back, win 2-1, then win the series today with a 10-0 win. Florida's up next. We will get into that series. Shout out to everybody that's in here right now. Matt, know you're a huge fan. Hopefully things are going well with you. And Kane's Cats Heat 305 is always here, so definitely shout out to you as well. If you have any comments about this game or this series or anything you want answered, we're definitely going to go right over to Gino DiMare for the post-game Zoom interviews, and hopefully we get some players as well. Hopefully ask some questions, get their thoughts on this game, and also, ask about Florida. It's interesting. Miami does not play a midweek game leading up to that. I think a big question mark, a big question to answer is if Alejandro Rosario is going to start in that opening game against Florida because he has struggled in his first two starts. A lot to get into with that series. But with this game, I want to start with Jake Garland. A really good performance. He's off to a good start against Towson and Harvard, two lower level programs. However, it's a good start for him. Today he goes 6 innings, obviously doesn't give up any runs. And you see right here, 2 hits, 1 walk, strikes out 3. Not a big strikeout guy, even though he struck out 8 in his first game. But once again, commanded the strike zone, didn't allow Harvard to really get anything going offensively. And as we saw on Friday night, Harvard showed that they can swing the bats a little bit with 11 runs on that one. So Jake did a very good job, and I definitely want to ask Coach DiMare about Jake and his performance, what he likes about him. And looking at the stats here, so 12 innings for Jake on the season, 6 hits, which is great, just the 1 walk, and he's only allowed 2 unearned runs with 11 strikeouts. So once again, Jake's off to a good start. I think this is important for him. It's an important season for him. He started a lot of games. This was his 15th career start, but he's been a guy last year, ERA over 5, needs to get that down a little bit. And again, he's off to a good start, right-handed pitcher, and certainly doing well, limiting hits, and limiting any type of scoring opportunities for the other team. So a really good performance by him today. And once again, hopefully we can get Jake on here and get his comments on how things are going for him and what worked in particular today. Hitting though, Miami finishes with 10 runs on 9 hits. A lot of it early. They scored 4 runs in the first inning, 4 in the second. Jacob Burke with the big offensive day. He knocks in his second home run, knocks in 4 runs. So a big performance out of him, transfer from Southeastern Louisiana. A guy that had 11 home runs in 71 games there, started every game he was there for the first 2 seasons. And he's fitting in really nicely at Miami. Batting in, kind of that middle of the lineup spot. He hit 5th today, and he could play all 3 outfield spots, left, center, right, played left today. But he's certainly off to a good start, and Miami needs that bat. They need all the bats they can get. And I know Miami's off to a good start, averaging 9 runs through these first 8 games, but I think that the offense, still has stuff to prove with a lot of new names in here. A couple freshmen in Dorian Gonzalez Jr. and Lorenzo Carrier in the starting lineup, but also some other guys, even a guy like CJ Kafis coming off last year. Now he's got a big-time role leading off. And I do want to mention CJ had the home run, and Carlos Perez as well. So 3 home runs today, 12 on the season through 8 games for Miami. CJ Kafis has had a hit in all 8 games this year. And looking back to last season, he actually ended the year on a 5-game hitting streak. So it's a total of 13 games. And it's a little tricky with his hit streak because he got a pinch hit opportunity last year, but drew a walk. But based on, how the rules work with hitting streaks, he actually gets to continue it. So, yeah, he did finish the season well off last year, and he's hitting the ball well this year. And I asked Coach earlier in the week, about CJ kind of leading off. He really likes him there, and certainly he's doing a good job and getting on base as one of the top guys for Miami hitting the ball. Kind of a lineup thing to pay attention to is Dorian Gonzalez had been kind of hitting, at the bottom of the order, 5th, 6th, in that range, and he moves up to 2nd today. And he only had the 1 hit, but he did have a couple walks. So on base 3 times. I'm sure Coach likes that. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dorian kind of stay in that 2 hole because we've not seen someone really solidify there. Mike Rosario had 3 starts there earlier. Dominic Patelli as well. And you saw Patelli today batting 9th. So, Rosario doesn't start here off to that 4 for 18 start. So I think they're looking for somebody to be in that 2 hole. And certainly if Dorian can hit, get on base, he had the RBI today, I think he's a guy that could be given that opportunity. And so far, the freshman has started every game there at second. So he's someone Miami likes. He's someone I liked at the high school level out of Berlin. He's someone that's been committed to this program for a while, and he's getting his opportunity and taking advantage of it. And, we're just waiting on the Zoom calls here. There's some numbers I want to get into that's impressing me so far with Miami and their hitting approach. I'll get into that after we talk to Coach here. Make sure I don't want to miss that. Also, I have a few highlights of today's game. If you guys didn't get a chance to see this game, if you want to see a little bit of what happened today, I'll definitely provide a few highlight clips. And another thing too, a couple guys that have been injured and limited. Carlos Perez, I mentioned him, makes his season debut, gets a pinch hit opportunity, and hits a home run on a full count. So great opportunity for him to take advantage of getting in there. He'd been dealing with the finger injury. Coach said he might not be ready this weekend when I asked him, but he did get in there for that one opportunity, one at bat, and he was pulled. He didn't stay in the game to catch. J.D. Jones did that, but still good for Carlos to get in there and hit the ball and drive it out for his second career home run. Also, J.P. Gates, interesting. He's already pitched once earlier this year. He got to pitch at the end of the game. He did, get a couple strikeouts and a walk. It's interesting. I saw Matt comment about JP, and certainly it's going to be interesting how they integrate JP. They definitely want left-handed guys out of the bullpen, and there's a pitch that I want to focus on that I got to with the highlight that I want to show you guys here in a bit after we wrap up with interviews with JP. But JP makes his first start at DH. He's a guy that they like as a hitter and a pitcher. But JP goes 0 for 4, does draw a walk, but strikes out once. But he didn't produce, and that's one thing that's kind of standing out in particular with this game. So the bottom hitters 6 through 9, just 2 hits for everybody that got in there today. So that's disappointing. They'd like to get a little bit more well-rounded with their lineup. And I think they're still trying to find pieces and who can go in there. They're giving different guys opportunities, to see who can do what. And I think they'll continue to do that until they find some guys to hit the ball well. Lorenzo Carrier's kind of hit in that group, but he's a guy that they like, and he's been hitting the ball well, and he's starting every time out there. So he's a guy I think will continue to stay in the lineup as long as he's healthy. Once again here, just kind of waiting for Coach DiMare. Last time we did this, it took maybe about 10 to 15 minutes after the game. It's a little bit different than the basketball post-game shows I've been doing, where Coach Larnega would come out quick. DiMare meets with the team, kind of last words before this begins. So we've got a few minutes here. I want to thank everybody for your patience, and definitely shout out to Colton. He's here as well, dropping in with the comments. Yeah, definitely a great game today, and good, because Miami needed a performance like this. A 10-0 win was important. They did win yesterday, game 2-1, but, you'd like to see Miami score more runs against a team like Harvard. And after losing 11-6 that first night, you want to see a big performance, and they get it today, kind of a complete performance. Only allowed Harvard to 3 hits as a team. 5 different pitchers get in there, touched on Gates. Dubberly comes in, strikes out 2, clean inning for him and the 3 batters he faced without allowing a guy to get on base. And Radalunas comes in there, wasn't able to finish the inning. Torres comes in, and then JP finishes it off with the last couple outs. But good to see the bullpen get in there, some different guys as well. We touched on JP earlier, but certainly, just guys getting work is always good, especially early on in the season. And a lot of pitchers we've already seen a lot of pitchers already this year, even though 8 games in, a lot of guys have gotten opportunities. And again, one thing that's interesting, again, without that midweek start, they don't get that opportunity, because that first weekend they actually go to a 5-man starting rotation. And now for this upcoming week, they're only going to go down to 3 with Alex McFarland not getting the start, and then Carson Ligon as well, who was serving in that 5th role. And assuming they stick with the same guys with Rosario, Palmquist, and Garland, McFarland would kind of be used as in long relief if one of those starters struggle, and then Ligon as well. But it will be interesting, again, what Coach does with Rosario, with how he's performed to start the season. And if they're going to give him that 3rd start, certainly it's tough to go from an ace to out of the rotation just after 2 starts. So I know he wants to be patient. We kind of saw this a little bit recently with Daniel Fetterman, a guy that they started out as a Friday night starter, just didn't have what they needed, and they eventually took him out. I think it was after 4 starts. So he did get some opportunities, and certainly they don't want to be wrong as coaches. But it'll be very interesting to see if they're going to stick with him. McFarland's been a guy that's pitched well this year, and certainly a talented guy in his draft year. So if he gets, elevated, that's something to watch for. And then Ligon pitched really well against FAU in his first start of his career, coming in as a highly touted freshman. But certainly, talked about this a lot last season for a coach, the balance of being patient as managing a baseball team and then making decisions when you need to. It's very difficult either in the lineup, playing time, starting rotation. It's definitely a difficult thing to kind of navigate. And I think that's one of the reasons why Miami struggled last year, is not being able to find the consistency and essentially pressing the right buttons with getting guys in there and getting the most out of them. Matt, that's interesting you say about Palmquist coming off that big game yesterday, 9 strikeouts, 5 1/3 innings without a walk. I think that's a good start for him. He does give up the home run, and we have seen that a little bit with Carson, particularly the end of last season, starting to give up some home runs. But he bounced back with a strikeout afterwards yesterday. But certainly, he's a guy that they're hoping can really be a top end guy at the rotation. And certainly, he's the guy that would, if they do move Rosario, he's the guy that I would assume would move up a spot. Just making sure we're good here. Once again, still waiting for coach, still waiting for players. I would assume Jake Garland. I don't get the heads up on which players it would be, but I assume Jake Garland and maybe Jacob Burke because of his big performance.
That's cold, bro. Yeah,
And as always, if there's any audio issues, anything technical going on, on the live stream, definitely drop in the comments because I want to get it fixed as quickly as possible. And sometimes I don't always notice or I don't always know what's going on from your end. Canes Cats, that's definitely a great question about can this team host a regional? That would go to the top 16 teams. I think that's the goal, to be one of those teams. And I'm not ready to say that they will. I know they're 24th right now, so they're certainly in the picture. I think that's kind of the ceiling for this team.
Recording in progress.
And we're going here. Give me 1 second.
Jake, can you hear me?
yeah. Yes.
Awesome. We have starting pitcher Jake Garland. If you have a question for Jake, please use the hand raise function. We'll start with Chris Stock from InsideTheU. Chris.
Hey, Jake, just kind of curious what was working for you today and how you felt about your outing.
I thought it was very efficient with my pitches, staying down in the zone, which is my key with my fastball. It's going to die down. So I feel like working down the zone was a big part of it, which helped give me some ground balls and let my defense work behind me.
And just what was it like, you get the early run support, 4 in the first, 4 in the second. I know you're doing your job, but just to have that big run support there early.
It's awesome. So, anytime your hitters can put up 10 runs is a great support system as a starting pitcher. So you just got to go out there and do your part, just knowing that they're going to do their part. So it was great.
Next, we'll go to Cal Friedman from Kane Sport. Cal.
Hey, Jake, congratulations on the win. Second straight week, you've delivered a really good 6-inning shutout in your outing. How confident are you in the way you're pitching right now?
I feel really good right now, so trying to get better every week. I made a few mistakes in week 1. I'm trying to clean those up, and I cleaned a little bit up coming into this week. And so I'm just trying to get better and better every week.
We'll go back to Chris Stock from InsideTheU. Chris.
Jake, you've obviously been here a couple seasons now. Was there something in the off season where you felt like you really wanted to work on it and really be better at than you've been in the past, and kind of how did that work go going into it?
Yeah, so I threw a lot of innings last year, so I didn't go to summer ball anywhere. I stayed here and worked on my craft and my body and stuff like that, transferring weight into muscle and So I felt better getting my body in shape. But over the fall, just working down with my fastball, that's going to be my key. Last year I was able to figure out develop that pitch, my fastball, the sinker, but really just learning from last year, just to keep it down, be better this year.
The 63 pitches, 6 innings, you've got to be pretty pleased with that kind of efficiency.
Yeah. Quick innings, get our hitters, keep them at the plate. They're hot, so get them back in the dugout as quick as possible.
Our next question comes from Wyatt Coltman from the Miami Hurricane. Wyatt.
Jake, congratulations on the win. There was at one point in the game today, 14 batters straight retired. How much credit do you give to your relievers, JP Gates, Jordan Dubberly, Rodolunas Torres, to be able to carry strong and really anchor this bullpen?
I thought they did a great job. You never know when you're going to come in, and they got the call and they came in. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, and they did a great job.
Are there any other questions for Jake? We'll go back to Chris Stock. Chris?
Jake, just kind of just the importance of winning the series. Obviously the Friday one was tough. Just winning the series and also looking ahead. You guys got Florida coming at home. You don't have the midweek game. Just looking ahead to that series, kind of the keys for you guys to win it.
Yeah, I mean, losing that first game is tough. It's not a good feeling. It doesn't sit right in our mouths, but I thought the pitching staff in general, they came back and they fought really well, giving up 11 runs in the first game, I think, and then coming back and going 1 run and then no runs today. It's always a big deal. But the big thing with our bats is they never gave up. They always fought every at bat, and I thought they did very well at the plate as well.
Our last question for Jake comes from Cal Friedman. Cal?
Jake, you're one of the 2 team captains on this team in 2022. How much do you enjoy that leadership role?
I think, as Gino always says, though, it's always important to have more than 2 captains. So I'm glad I can be one of the 2, but I like having everyone around me as a captain as well, just to feed off them and good energy around the whole entire team.
Awesome. Thank you, Jake. Congrats on the win, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Burke, can you hear us?
Yep.
We have outfielder Jacob Burke. If you have a question for Jacob, please use the hand raise function. We'll start with Cal Friedman from Kane Sport. Cal?
Hey, Jacob, congratulations on the win and the performance today. Last night, you guys left 10 guys on base. You left 8 guys on base on Friday. How important was it to get those early runs today?
It's always nice to come out and punch them right from the beginning. It's tough to come back from a 4-run lead in the first inning. And Gino and Lopes talked a lot to us before the game about when we get in those plus counts and when we get runners on, just get our pitch, get something that we can do damage with and really just play our game and not help them. I feel like the past few games we were helping them by swinging some bad pitches when we'd get runners on, and we were just able to capitalize today.
And then take me through that home run in that first inning. What did you see in that at bat?
Well, I got all fastballs. You always like that as a hitter. I got in a plus count. I think it got to 3-0, and then he threw me a ball. I thought it was a ball. It was pretty low, but went to 3-1, and then he just gave me a good pitch that I was on time and just drove it out.
Next, we'll go to Chris Stock from InsideTheU. Chris?
Hey, Jacob, just again, more from the hitter's perspective, just 2 runs, 6 hits yesterday. Did you sense a better approach from your guys, especially early on? You guys get those runs and hits early. Did you sense something as a whole was different?
Yeah, I mean, we worked a lot preparing before the game on just tracking balls and it's almost like we work on tracking more sometimes than actually swinging because, we have our BP to get loose. And, by Sunday, you've had enough at bats to know what's coming. But I think we just did a really good job as a whole of being very taxing. We would just make them work for every single out. And when we got in our counts, we didn't help them out. We worked and got our pitch instead.
And just as a follow, you guys had 3 homers as a team today. You got 12 on the season, 8 games in. Do you feel like this is a team that can hit home runs consistently, or is it, maybe not what your guys' biggest strength will be?
I mean, we obviously had a little help. The wind was blowing strong out to left. Apparently, it does that a lot here on Sundays. But I think we're really we just home runs happen. You can't really try. Like, I mean, if you ask somebody, you don't really hit a lot of home runs when you go up there trying to hit a home run. It kind of just happens. I mean, as long as we just stay with our approach and get in plus counts and just we capitalize on the pitches that we like and that we see. I mean, I think we've got ability to do a little bit of everything. And I think some days it'll be power. Some days we'll manufacture runs. Just kind of depends. But it's nice to have guys that can do multiple things to where you're not always relying on one part of the game.
Are there any other questions for Jacob? Awesome. Thank you, Burke.
Appreciate y'all.
Impressive, man. That's not a pretty speak.
Gino, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. We have Hurricanes head coach Gino DiMare. Gino, if you can start with an opening statement, and then we'll go into questions from our media on the call.
Yeah, it was good after Friday coming back. We weren't very happy about how we played on Friday, and you got to find a way to work back into the series. We did it last night in a close game, 2-1, but pitchers threw really well last night. They only gave up 1 run, and today we have a shutout. So obviously they did a great job, starting with Jake. Jake was very efficient. He threw 6 innings, 63 pitches. That's really unusual and hard to do in college level. And so obviously we took him out early because the situation of the game, and we needed some guys to get in. We don't have any midweek games this week. We do not have a midweek game. So we're not going to scrimmage during the week. So we needed some guys to get in there to pitch. That's kind of why we did what we did there. But very happy with the way the team played. We put up 9 runs in the first 3 innings. And although you still got to finish the game and play the rest of the game, because anything can happen, certainly in our sport with no clock, it was pretty damaging, those 9 runs in the first 3 innings. And you could feel it, you could see it. And it was great that we were able to get a lot of guys in the game that hadn't played, still trying to search for the right lineup, especially the second half of the lineup, maybe our 2 spot as well in our lineup. The outfield play, we've moved it around a little bit. And I'm still looking and searching. And I did like what I saw in some of the guys that came into play today. So overall, very happy with the way the guys bounced back and to win the series.
We'll open it up for questions. If you have a question, please use the hand raise function. We'll start with Chris Stock from InsideTheU. Chris?
Hey, Gino, with Jake Garland, just what kind of enabled him to have the success that he had? Would you kind of see that was enabling him to do well? And then I know it's only 2 starts in, but do you sense something different with Jake this year at all, kind of going into it?
Well, his bread and butter, Chris, is obviously getting ground balls, and he got 12 of them today. So he was pitching to his strength, getting a lot of ground balls, getting some stink on the fastball. And so that's what he does. And you certainly want that on a Sunday. You don't want the ball being lifted in the air. As you saw, our Sunday games, Burke's right. Ball's carrying out, and you get the ball up in the air, it can carry and be damaging. His ball didn't matter what the wind was doing. He hit that really good. But some balls are popped up and can get out of the ballpark. And so Jake is perfect in that situation. He got a lot of ground balls, got ahead of hitters. And in regards to him, he's basically a guy that's been here now 3 years. And you like to think that he's developed over those 3 years. And so, sure, I would think everything has gotten a little bit better. Command has probably gotten a little bit better. The sink has maybe gotten a little bit more. Off speed a little bit better. And his confidence, there's no doubt he's probably a more confident guy. I mean, he's one of our captains of our team. You can't be a captain of our team and not carry yourself in a manner that players look up to and respect. So, he has a lot going for him, and there's no reason why, he should be where he's at and pitching the way he's pitching. This is what we would expect from a guy like him.
Our next question comes from Cal Friedman from Kane Sport. Cal?
Hi, Gino. Congratulations on the series victory. 2 questions. 1, what does it say about your team that you lost by 5 on Friday, but were able to respond with back-to-back wins to close the series? And then Yohandy Morales, who wasn't struggled a little bit in the opening weekend against Towson, but this weekend came up with 5 hits. What'd you make of his play this weekend?
Well, it showed me the team was resilient. I mean, look, you're going to lose games. It's not going to go undefeated. We didn't happen to play. You don't want to play poorly, and we kind of did on Friday. Just didn't really put it together as a team, and so today we did. I think we played a pretty complete game, pitching, hitting, and defense. But you got to be able to come back. Baseball's a game where it's not. You don't have a week off like football. You don't have 3-4 days in between most of the time, especially on weekend series. You better turn the page real quick. You lose that first game, you got to find a way to win the next game and even it up and have a chance to win the series. And so that happens. There's different ways of winning series, and we went about it maybe the hard way, because losing that first one is tough. There's no doubt, but you've got to forget, you've got to turn the page. You got to stay in the moment. And our guys were able to do that. I felt good about the team in the locker room after the game on Friday, even though everybody was down. We had to turn the page, and we talked about it, and get ready for the biggest game of the year is the next game. And they did a good job with that. In regards to Yo-Yo, I don't know what Towson weekend, I'm not sure, what he hit, but I mean, I have no reservations, no concerns, I just have a lot of confidence in that kid. He's one of the more, they come around every so often, players, not just talented players, but confident players. Yo-Yo is one of the more confident players I've coached here, and I've been here a long time. I could probably count on one hand those guys, and he probably is on that hand. He's just an extremely confident kid. I'm never worry about him, and I do that because he doesn't worry about it. And whatever he did over the Towson series, I don't have the stats in front of me. I mean, he there's no concern there. He's our third hole hitter, and he always will be as long as he's here, unless something crazy happens.
Are there any other questions for Gino? We'll go back to Chris Stock from InsideTheU. Chris?
Gino, just curious what Jacob Burke has been able to give you guys this season, and, obviously big one today, but just in general, what he's been able to give you guys.
It's been great. He's been great. He didn't have a great fall, and he was a little better early in the spring before we started, but I was a little concerned because we knew bringing him in, he's a very athletic guy. He's probably one of our better athletes on the team. He does a lot of things. He can defend, he can throw. Made a play in left field, the ball off the wall in left center. He threw that ball to third base, throw the runner out. It was unbelievable. He can run, he can hit, and he's got power. So he has all the tools. The pro guys, I'm sure, love watching him play. It's a big get for us. A great job by Coach Lopes and all our guys recruiting, getting him through the portal, because he's a dynamic player. He's an exciting player. He's probably one of the toughest kids on our team. And he's not going to back down from any challenges, which I love. He's kind of an old school Miami player. And he's been great for us. Great addition to our program. I only wish we had him his first freshman year.
And just to follow, you said at the beginning there was, you're working on guys, trying to find guys, either bottom half of the lineup or whatever. But you said a couple, maybe guys came in today and impressed you. Who were some of those guys, or what kind of impressed you with other guys?
Yeah. Well, we started Eddie in center, and Eddie, hit the ball hard, got on base. I think he got hit by pitch. And I think the other day when we put him in, he hit the ball hard too as well. And so he's looked good, and we've given him the opportunity. And I think Gabby Gutierrez took some good swings, just missed hitting the ball out, hit the ball pretty good to right center, but didn't go anywhere into the wind. Made a great play, which he's very good defensively, and made an outstanding. That's a tough catch, coming straight in and diving. That ball straight in like that, and he made that play. He got a perfect jumper. He doesn't make the play, and he dive was perfect. And Renzo Gonzalez, another guy. Renzo came in, and he was guy hadn't had many opportunities, but he put a good swing on the ball there and hit the ball hard. And he's a good player, knows how to play the game. He's got good instincts. So those are some of the guys that I did like that got into the game that haven't maybe got as many opportunities. So, and again, I am, and we're still searching to try to solidify a lineup, and a lot of it is in the outfield, because the infield we kind of going with the same guys, and of course catcher as well. Great to see Carlos come back from his injury. Not only did he hit the ball out of the ballpark, he gave a great at bat. I mean, he took some really good swings, which is important as a hitting guy, watching a guy hit there. That how is he taking pitches, when he is swinging at the ball, how does he look? He fouled off some pitches, but he looked good. And of course, you know, he took the count deep and he got the ball up, hit it out of the ballpark. So he's a guy that, you know, the hitting we knew would come quicker than the catching. And so he definitely is a guy that we counted on hitting in the middle of our lineup before he got hurt. So I would expect him to be, you know, possibly this coming weekend somewhere, you know, an important part of our lineup. You know, we want him in the lineup if he's okay, which he was fine. He was obviously fine hitting the home run. So he's fine right now.
A guy Ariel Garcia, we haven't seen him. Just, is he okay?
Yeah. Ariel. Yeah, he's okay. Yeah.
And just looking ahead, you touched on no midweek games. It's interesting leading into the UF series. Just your initial early thoughts on that one. And Gino, have you decided on your starting rotation? Are you staying with your 3 guys? I only ask because Alejandro struggled.
No, we haven't, Chris. We haven't decided on a rotation yet, so I can't announce that yet. JD and I will talk about it. But, you know, it's an interesting week. Like I said earlier, we don't have a midweek game. So I think everybody in the country will have a midweek game, but we don't. So we got to make sure we do everything we can to prepare. It does give us extra time to prepare for Florida and not worry about a midweek opponent. So that's a good thing. But you like to play too. So, yeah, it kind of can weigh it both ways, I guess. But, you know, I don't know much about Florida in terms of, because I haven't watched them. We have focused on the teams we're playing. Our coaches will be in the office watching a lot of video starting tomorrow on Florida. We do know a lot about them in terms of a lot of their players back from last year. They got some new guys too as well, but we'll be ready and make sure we, you know, have a good scouting report for our players and, you know, be ready to go on Friday. But yeah, I can't tell you a whole lot about them right now. I haven't really paid attention to them.
Our next question comes from Wyatt Kopelman. Wyatt?
Coach, congratulations on the win. At one point today, 14 consecutive batters retired. How much credit do you give not only to Jake, but also to the bullpen as well as the defense that continue to make some solid plays infield and outfield across this lineup for Harvard?
Well, yeah, it starts with the pitch and it starts with Jake. He was very efficient, pitch to contact, got a lot of ground balls. I think at one point, you know, Jake got retired, maybe 11 batters he faced, his last 11 batters. And then Doubly came in. That's probably where you got your 14 in a row. Doubly, I think, went 3 up, 3 down, if I'm not mistaken. So I could be wrong there, but I think that's the 14 in a row. Doubly threw great, threw his slider and changeup, was very effective. And, you know, they're a fastball hitting team, kind of a free swinging team. So the off speed was really good there. And, you know, all the guys that came in, Matt struggled a little bit at a few walks there, but, you know, he's a guy that we're going to count on, certainly late part of the game with lefties, because he's got a lot of good stuff. And good to get Torres in. And of course, JP looked good. So all the pitchers look good. They threw well and very efficient. Like I said, starting with Jake, though, I mean, 6 innings, 63 pitches. He could have thrown a complete game if we wanted to. If we needed him to, he could have thrown a complete game. He was certainly on pace to do that. But, you know, we wanted to get guys in, get some work.
And as you guys take this series win, how much of the rest component do you guys emphasize as a coaching staff going into a series like Florida, where coming to town, it's going to be a packed house coming Friday night, and it's going to be a tough team, as you mentioned, with the newcomers as well as some of the veterans they still have?
You said how much of a rest component did you say?
Yes, sir. I mean, how do you balance the rest and also,
Yeah.
of course, the practice without the midweek matchup?
Right. Well, that's a good question. You'd have to do that. So normally we play a Wednesday game. Our Tuesday practice won't change. It'll be a very similar practice where we do try to cover some things. We do things on Tuesdays the same always. We'll keep that routine. Wednesday's practice, it will be different because we don't have Wednesday practices. So we'll probably cover some things on Wednesday in terms of what maybe Florida does from an offensive standpoint to defend that team defense wise and prepare for that a little bit. Obviously, we'll work on things that we need to work on. Thursday's always a light practice for us before a 3-game series. We don't do a lot of hitting. We do a lot of tracking with the baseball with our eyes, do a lot of bunting, a lot of visualization stuff. But the Thursday practice, for the most part, is a little bit of defense and like what I just said there, and maybe some base running, light base running. But it's not a long practice, and it's one that we try to make sure we're crisp, clean, quick, get them out of here and let them get rested for Thursday night. Because again, the 3-game series and playing a 55 right now, we have 55 game schedule, but however many games that is left. You got to keep that all in mind because you want your guys to be fresh and you want them strong, not only for the series, but for the end of the season, most importantly.
And then lastly, you guys are playing in front of a sold out crowd again, similar to 2020. How excited are your troopers and even the coaching staff just to see the fans back for very much a historic rivalry with a big year behind you guys, and the fact that you didn't have any fans and now you have a sold out crowd coming to Mark Field?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I haven't really made any comments about it, and I should. Having the fans back has been unbelievable. You can feel it. It means a lot more. It's just the adrenaline it's just so many things makes it so much better with the fans here. And I didn't address that, and I should have earlier on, but I made a comment the other night, last Wednesday. I was telling the players when we played FAU before the game in the locker room, I kind of give the same speech every year on that first midweek game because it's class. They got class. They're just coming from class. They're coming over here. And of course, they got school the next day, and I'm just saying how you got to focus on the game now. You got to make sure you come to the ballpark, and you're not going to have a lot of fans in the crowd normally on 6 o'clock midweek games. That was one of the bigger midweek games that I've seen in a long time, 6 o'clock game. And so that to me showed me that the fans, we're getting a few more fans, and maybe it's because we haven't had them and they're excited to be out here. Maybe it's because of pro baseball and you don't have anything going on. I don't know, spring training right now, I guess, would be going on. But and then our weekend crowds, the grandstands have been filled. From my standpoint, the grandstand looks like it's been filled up. And when you fill up our grandstand, I mean, that's great. And then, of course, we get anybody in the bleachers. That's just icing on the cake, which, of course, we'll have this weekend, I guess. But the fans have been great, and it's great having the fans back. And all of us, coaches and players, really appreciate them coming out and supporting us because it has been it's just been an odd couple of years. And I can't say it any more than that. It's just been very odd.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
Gino, thank you for your time and congratulations.
Okay. Thank you.
Record.
So that was great. Gino DiMare explains a lot of different things there. I was able to get a lot of questions in and some things I can wrap up with and address. Also, Jake Garland. It was good to see him and Jacob Burke. Those were the two that I kind of figured we'd be able to talk to. And one thing that's standing out to me with Jacob, just really put up his numbers, but he's sitting 360 on it for the team for the season so far, 9-25 at the plate, 2 home runs, which leads the team, 11 RBIs leads the team. So fitting in really nicely, and Coach talked about the impact he's making. And sometimes you don't know with transfers how they're going to fit in there, and he's certainly off to a good start. Certainly a big series coming up with Miami and Florida. Coach talked about the uniqueness of not playing the midweek game, which is really interesting. I don't know the story of why they weren't able to line one up there. But Miami will use the time to get ready, practice, really work on the film study. And that's something that Coach said that they'll start on Monday. They'll immediately get into that. Okay, one of the things that want to stand out to me about the series, so Yo-Yo Morales goes 5-9 in the series, 1 RBI, but he has 5 walks, a triple, and a stolen base. Good to see him get some hits. You still like to get the extra base hits, but he's hitting well. So that was a big one for him, a good series for him going into this one. Like Coach said, he's one of these confident guys, really talented. Coach speaks highly about him. I sense he's going to be in that number 3 spot throughout the year, unless something changes behind him or if somebody else gets going. But I think they really like, with the right-left thing that they could do with Morales and Romero there behind him, cleaning up. And Romero's off to a good start too. I saw Matt mention about Carlos Perez, the new DH. One of the things I talked to Gino about before the season began was about the catcher spot. And he did say, look, one guy's going to catch, and I think the other guy is going to be the DH. And because what we've seen so far to begin the season, we've not seen a DH really establish himself. I think an example of that is Zach Levinson got an opportunity at one point, but he hit 9th as the DH. So it wasn't today, but Miami's looking for somebody to step up. And I think if Carlos is ready to go, I think I could see him be in there, and certainly in the middle of the lineup. I could see him, the way it's slotted now, is be in that 6 hole where you go, right, left, right. Coach likes to do that a lot. And I think you'll see him in there against Florida. I don't think that there's any reason why he wouldn't be able to DH, because the other guys aren't hitting well enough. And Carlos clearly looks ready with the home run today. Coach mentioned also the home run, but it came on a 3-2 count. And I thought that was great that Carlos was able to work the count, like Coach said, get some pitches in and then certainly drive the ball to left center. That was great to see for Carlos in his first at bat of the season. Miami needs that power. I asked Jacob about that. If he felt like this is a team that could hit home runs, I don't see a lot of power guys. I don't know how many guys are going to hit that double-digit mark this year. I do think Morales, I think Romero certainly has shown pop, and then Jacob Burke, he hit 9 last year, his second year playing for Southeastern Louisiana. Maybe he can get to 10, but I don't think that there's a lot of guys, and I don't think this is going to be a huge home run hitting team. But what Jacob said was, look, there's going to be different days that they're going to be able to do that maybe, but do different things. And I didn't realize, but he touched on the wind being, swirling quite a bit today. So it helps lead to 3 home runs for Miami. I found it interesting. Miami had 9 hits as a team. Those were the only extra base hits. I'm always big on doubles. I'd like to see the team hit, continue to find ways to get doubles and kind of get in scoring position with 1 hit there. Overall, good performance today. Another thing I want to make mention of in the series that I haven't mentioned yet was Lorenzo Carrier. Big opening weekend, debut weekend for him. He goes 0 for 7 in the 3 games here. You would have liked to get a hit, obviously, but he did have 4 walks. And I think what's great about that is a young player with power, especially with how he started the year. He's not chasing a lot of pitches, and I can imagine that if he's not getting hits, he'd like to get some hits, maybe swing a little bit more outside the zone. And for him to draw 4 walks on the weekend, I thought that's good for a young player, still adjusting to everything here. And looking at his season stats, he has 6 strikeouts on the year and 6 walks. And you would take that from a power guy, a young power guy, showing that kind of plate discipline early on here in just the first couple of weeks. And I think that's great. So a good sign for him. Certainly 0 for 7 is not what you're looking for. But just a side note, with the walks being there, I think it can still, have one of these big years or a really big freshman year, really contribute. And they don't need him to be hitting 3rd or 4th or, even 5th if they move Perez in there. I think that they, I think Perez could be 5th or 6th depending on what they do with Burke. Burke's hitting well when I touched about Perez earlier, but Burke can certainly move into that 5 spot if he continues to hit like this. But and Burke's also a right-handed bat, so it's again sticking with that right, left, right thing there. Other things that I noticed that stood out to me, I asked Coach just about Garcia. He was the guy that hit well in high school. He's not played yet. Infielder, he's one of the guys that hasn't played yet. Guy out of Columbus. But other than that, we've seen a lot of guys pitch this year to start it out. One thing about Florida, and I do want to go to the highlights. I'll have those ready to go. But I do want to show you guys. So Florida, in case you don't know about them, 6-2 on the year. They did win today. They won 12-1 in the series. So they've won the last 5 games for them. 6-2 overall. They went 1-2 against Liberty, and Florida dropped in the rankings, and so they're sitting at 15 now. They were 9, just in the top 25 poll that you see here, but they bounced back with the win, winning the series there. So that was, good for them as they get ready to play Miami. They do have a midweek game, but just want to make note of that from that standpoint from Florida. And there's a lot to get into with Florida. I'd like to do a video with the preview in that series because it is a big one. And you heard Coach mention, with Rosario, they're not set on their rotation. So typically when I hear that kind of covering Gino, typically the move isn't to leave it as is. Typically the move is to make a move and just announce it later. You don't, for example, if he's already thinking they're going to possibly make a move, typically from what I've seen from experience is they go ahead and change that up. So it wouldn't be surprising at all. And I think, again, if you're thinking about what could happen, I think you could see McFarland jump in there as a starter. Rosario, maybe goes back to the bullpen, and then Palmquist gets that Friday night start, just guessing, or if I were just based on, what Gino said. So that's kind of what I'm thinking might happen there. And I want to show you, got to refresh this here with the ACC scoreboard games today. There's a couple things that stand out to me in this one. I think you guys might have already seen it here. Let Let me pull it up here. But a couple things that stand out to me. So Duke and Baylor are playing a doubleheader. Duke's a top 25 team right now. Baylor they got swept up to Maryland to start the year. They bounced back with the win. They beat Duke on Friday, and then the doubleheader. And then you see Baylor wins game 1 today, 12-3. They're in game 2 today. So not a good start for the season for Duke if they were to drop this series. And then another thing that stands out to me, and I think you see it right here, is this Florida State game, losing 7-4 to Samford. Not good for them to lose to a team like that. Obviously, Miami dealt with it this weekend with Harvard. Miami needs to do better, against these kinds of teams, but other teams are struggling. I just mentioned Florida lost to Liberty and FSU to Samford, so losses happen. You got to bounce back. Other things that stand out to me today, any other big matchups, Virginia Tech wins. And I don't see NC State here. NC State's the highest ranked team in the ACC. I'll show you guys again the top 25. NC State's 9th, Florida State 10. And then you do see some other teams in here from the ACC, Georgia Tech, and then Duke, like I mentioned, 23. And Duke plays East Carolina in the midweek game coming up. So tough kind of stretch for Duke here early on. Kind of going back here. You know what? I want to bring up the video of the highlights, let you guys see that. Some of the highlights from today's game, including the home run by Burke, in case you guys didn't get a chance to see that. But here we go.
This one is drilled to left field. Backing up is Snowpack, looking up, and that ball is long gone. Home run. A 3-run homer for Burke. His second of the season. A 3-run shot for Burke. Morales and Romero score in front of him. And a 4-0 Miami lead at the late.
That was a no-doubter off the bat of Jacob Burke, who celebrated his 21st birthday last night, and he knew it the second he swung. He got an elevated fastball right over the middle of the plate, and he did not miss it. Hitters count, he knew what he was looking for, knew what he was sitting on, and he got it.
So far this season. And this one lined center field, and a nice play by Baldwin. Capus will tag and score standing up, and it's 7-0 Miami. And here it comes. Loops this one over the head of the second baseman Cooper. Here comes Gonzalez. He will score standing up. And Burke has another RBI.
The second home run Harvard has given up today, and both of them coming on a 3-1 count. Hurricane hitters knowing exactly what they are looking for in that situation. In this case, Capus got it. He got that fastball fat over the middle of the plate.
Perez with a drive to left field. Snowpack looking up, and that one is long gone, a home run. Perez with his first home run of the season.
In his first at-bat of the season as well. And the entire Canes dugout is out on the field congratulating their teammate.
So there you see some highlights of today's game. Great to see with home runs, all three of them there with Burke, Capus, and Perez. Obviously a lot of excitement for all the guys, but certainly with Perez, first at bat, first game of the year. Good to see there. I'm going to wrap this up soon. I do want to show you one other thing with JP Gates, just because I think he's an interesting guy to follow, to watch. He's been good at times at Miami, both as a hitter, and as a pitcher. And then they're looking for a complete season here after missing most of last year. And I want to show you on the mound something he was able to do today.
Canes trying to win.
Here we go.
Canes trying to win the rubber game of the series, in firm command right now. The 3-2 pitch. Got him swinging, 2 down here in the 9th inning.
It was just a simple strikeout, but what stood out to me, it looked like it was a changeup going about 83. He was throwing that. I'm pretty sure that's the pitch there, is the way it backed up there. But just good to see him throwing his off-speed pitch for strikes, able to get strikeouts. It's good to see him on the mound. We'll see if he can continue to contribute. I think he'll continue to get opportunities out of the bullpen, and be a strong lefty. You saw Radalunas is another guy, a lefty, Rafe Schlesinger as well. These are guys that they have in the bullpen from the left side. Okay, I want to wrap up real quick. I do want to answer a couple questions here. As far as Victor Mederos, I do not know the situation of that. I do know that, over the summer he played with Coach Holliday, obviously the strong ties to Oklahoma State. And, he ended up making the transfer there. So I do think that there were some ties there. I don't know exactly what happened. I do know that obviously his role changed last year. It didn't work out for him as a starting rotation guy. He went a long time. I think he went about a month between appearances. So he just wasn't in there, and then essentially moved on. A lot of guys left. It wasn't just Mederos, but there were a lot of guys, and it just wasn't the upperclassmen with Alex Terrell, who opening series for Florida State got off to a great start, batting in the 3-hole. I've always liked Alex moving up in the lineup, so it's not a surprise to see him hitting there. Other guys too. Gill's playing elsewhere, Jordan Lala, or a couple other guys. But the young guys, Mederos was a young guy. It wasn't just those upperclassmen. Chad Bourne was a guy they really liked at one point as an outfielder, and I'm not sure where he's at right now, but he's no longer at Miami after his first season. Talking about Jacob Burke as a 2-hole, I'm a big fan of that. I thought last year they should have moved up some power, some guys in that 2-hole. Yes, I think Burke would be a good spot, especially if Dorian's not able to hit. And also the thing too, if coach wants to keep going with this lefty-righty thing, Kafis staying in that leadoff spot as a left-handed hitter, and the Morales, again, you can't go lefty-righty, but maybe you don't want to go double lefty to start it. And, maybe you get Burke in there in that two-hole spot. I certainly wouldn't be against it because I like seeing guys that can hit, especially in those first two hitting spots. Really chance to score runs there. So we will see how it works out. But I know they want length in the lineup. And, again, today, only 2 hits from those bottom guys. And certainly like to get more production moving forward with that. I asked Coach, if you didn't get a chance to see it, I asked Coach about some of these other guys. He kind of made mention that he liked some of the bats that they had. I did think Renzo Gonzalez put a good swing on it. He lines out to left center. It's a left-handed bat, so he's kind of going opposite field, kind of driving the ball. Is something I saw in the fall preseason practices. He kind of has that ability. So keep your eye on him once he gets opportunities, which is tough. He's a guy that played first base today, but he can play in the outfield as well. And certainly, other than Burke and Carrier's been hitting well, they're still trying to find out who their 3 guys are in the outfield. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Shout out to everybody. Once again, the way it worked, Jake Garland came on. If you didn't get a chance to hear what he had to say about the game, Jacob Burke and then Gino DiMare. And then I talked for a little bit about the game. So I'll have more on the baseball team, not only today, but moving forward. Big series with Florida. Miami's back at home for a 3-game set on Friday at 7 o'clock. It's that typical weekend series, goes 7 o'clock Friday and Saturday. Games on ACC Network Extra. And then the Sunday game's at noon, an hour earlier than normal. And that game's going to be on the ACC Network. So it'll be interesting to see what Miami does with the starting rotation. Certainly, I'm expecting a change based on what Gino said today. But I want to thank everybody again for checking out the Inside the U live postgame show. Miami improves to 7-1 with a 10-0 win over Harvard, takes 2 of 3 from the Crimson, and Harvard 1-2 in their first series in nearly 2 years. The last game before this weekend was March 8th in 2020. So I'm sure they're glad to get back out there as well. Shout out to everybody that watched the videos, and stay locked in to InsideTheU.com for more.